The Skin I'm In by Sharon G. Flake. Chapter 10 through 15. We need a new alarm clock. Ours rings whenever it wants. 2 in the morning, 10 at night. It don't matter, but you can be sure of one thing. It ain't never gonna ring when it's supposed to. When Mama comes in my room telling me I'm gonna be late if I don't get a move on, I ain't surprised. It's the third time this week I'm late because of that clock. So I just ignore Mama, pull my quilt up over my head, and turn over. Mama does what she always does. She pulls the covers off and threatens to yank down the sheet. I'm up. I sit on the edge of the bed, hands folded, head drooping. My eyes are still closed when Mama goes back downstairs to cook breakfast. I wash up, then look through my closet for some jeans or something. I push my way past that new shirt Mama made and hope she don't ask me about it. I don't want to hurt her feelings, but one shoulder's higher than the other. She fixed it 3 times already, but it just ain't working. I don't want to tell her that, though. Sweets asks me all the time why I don't just tell Mama I don't want to wear her stuff, but I can't. Mama needs to keep sewing. If she don't, I ain't sure what's going to happen to her. When I finally get to the kitchen table, the oatmeal's cold and slick like silly putty. I eat dried toast instead. Mama gives me the once-over. She comes and straightens up my turtleneck collar. She made this one too, but the woman across the street helped her with it, so it ain't so bad. Mama's dressed in a blue uniform. Today she got herself some different kind of tea. It smells more like chicken noodle soup to me. She's stirring it, but not drinking it. I kiss her quick on the side of the head. She don't even notice. She's eyeing the newspaper like she does every morning. 2 newspapers are spread wide open on the kitchen table. Every once in a while, pages slide onto the floor or get greasy from some eggs or bacon Mama eats while she's reading. Mama's always got to know what's happening in the stock market. She sews my clothes to save money so that she can play the stocks. She thinks we'll be rich one day, but she'll never invest any money. By the time she gets a few $100s saved up here and there, the pipes start leaking or the roof needs fixing, or Mama gets one of her dreams where some dead relative comes back and tells her to play the lottery and put all her money on some number they told her about, like 557, 810, or 119. It never fails. Mama loses all the money every dime. But that's the kind of luck we have. Dumb dead relatives who go out of their way to interrupt your good night's sleep to give you a lucky number that only brings you bad luck. Now who needs that? Mama never gives up, though. She's always looking for new ways to make money. She sold Tupperware, magazines, and pretty junk for kitchen walls. We're still poor as dirt. A lot of folks think Mama don't have all her marbles. I can tell by the way they talk to her kind of loud, like folks do with crazy people, with a smirk on their face, like they know a secret she don't. But the joke's on them. Mama's the smartest person in the world. She's a math whiz and can add numbers faster than anybody I know. Sometimes she embarrasses me. She's the type of woman that will put down her groceries and jump rope with the 8-year-old on the street. She'll play stickball with the boys in the neighborhood and argue with the winos on the corner over who's going to win the next election. Sometimes my friends laugh at Mama, but when I start to complain sweets and tell me to shut up. They know, like I do, ain't no one in the neighborhood got a heart bigger than my mama. I blow a kiss to Mama, and I rush past her head for school. She says in the only French she knows, "Je t'aime, ma petite." I love you, my little one. And then she goes back to her stocks. I hear her mumbling something about General Electric stock falling 20 points. I have no idea what that means. I ain't sure Mama does neither. Chapter 11. McClinton Middle School ain't the kind of place where you want the lunch ladies mad at you. No matter how bad the food looks or smells, you best keep your mouth shut. If you don't, you can end up with your hair in your spaghetti. You can end up with hair in your spaghetti, pencil shavings in your pizza, pepper in your milk. But something's got into Charlize today. She acts like them lunch ladies won't cause her no trouble. When she goes through the line, she says the hamburgers look like burnt dog doo-doo. Miss Brown, the lunch lady who's serving, don't say nothing. She just clears her throat and runs her hand through her short gray hair. By the time Charlize gets out of line, there it is, lettuce in her milk, dried up food on her fork, something indescribable on her hamburger bun. Me and her can't figure out what it is, but we think it used to be alive. I bring my own lunch from home and I tell Char she can have it. Today I got a bologna sandwich. Char don't want no part of it. She slams her lunch tray down on the table. The whole place gets quiet. They better give me some decent food, she yells loud enough for all the lunch ladies to hear. Miss Brown just keeps stirring peas and wiping sweat. Move out of my way, Char says to a girl sitting at the table. She don't even give the girl a chance to move before she flicks a handful of them greasy rock-hard peas in her face, then dares her to say something about it. The girl knows what's good for her. She wipes the slimy pea juice off her chin and moves on. Serves you right, Char says, drying her wet hands on my backpack. Next time, she'll get out of my way before I ask. They're going to give me what I paid for, Char says. She shoves her lunch tray at me so fast it almost slides off the table. Take it back, Malika. Tell him I want another plate now. I look at Charlize like she crazy. They won't take it from me, Char. They won't take it from me. You know that, Char. I say in a dry, shaky voice. Char doesn't say nothing at first. She just stares at me without blinking for the longest time. Do I have to jack you up right here in front of everybody, she asks, slapping one of the twins 5. I said you could have my bologna sandwich, I say. But Char turns to me with her hands on her hips and a face that says, I know you ain't talking to me. I don't have no choice. I pick up her tray and get back in line. It seems like 20 kids are in front of me. By the time I get to Miss Brown again, my stomach is growling. Miss Brown ain't smiling one little bit when she sees Char's tray. I tell her what the problem is. She says she'll take back the food, only not for me. Char starts yelling at me from way back in the lunchroom. Everybody can hear her. A teacher yells to her to shut up, but the teacher can't make Char's eyes stop digging into me. Miss Brown cuts me a break and starts throwing the old food in the trash. I stop her when she gets to the hamburger bun with the stuff on it. Leave it, I say quietly. She looks at me like she wants to say something else. Then she waves her hand at me, looks at the kid in the line after me and says, next. Char's yelling, hurry up, Malika. I take the tray with the same old hamburger bun on it over to the side of the cafeteria where the ketchup and mustard packets are. I scrape the yuck off the top of the bun and smear it on top of Char's hamburger. Then I squeeze ketchup and mustard on the meat, and I take the whole thing to Char. She snatches the tray out of my hand. She opens up the hamburger bun and picks up the meat. She puts it to her nose and sniffs it like she does to all of her food. Then she drops the burger back in the bun and covers it with the other piece of bread. What? You think she's spitting it? Raina says. Please, just eat so we could go. Char laughs and takes a big bite. Get lost, Malika, she says, her mouth full. I don't ask no questions. I pick up my lunch bag and head for another table with this big grin on my face. Desda is over in the corner by herself, so I go and sit with her. Soon as I get there, my sandwich falls out of the paper bag and onto the floor. Mama loves salad oil. She thinks it's good for your heart. Sometimes, like today, she gets a little heavy-handed with it, and it leaks all over the place. Desda leans down and picks up my sandwich and holds it to me. I wipe off the cellophane with tissue, unwrap it, and start eating. While my mouth is stuffed with bologna and bread, Caleb comes over and starts telling me how good I look. Oil is oozing out of the sides of my mouth as quick as I can wipe it off. Caleb don't seem to notice. He just keeps right on talking. I need to talk to you, Malika, he says, taking a napkin and wiping some oil off my chin. I tell Caleb got to talk to him some other time. That me and Desta are going over homework right now. He says he'll talk to me later and heads out of the lunchroom. Charlize stops him before he goes. She's all up in his face. He doesn't pay her no mind. He just keeps on stepping. Sometimes I can't help but wonder if Charlize wants Caleb because she knows he wants me. Desta acts like I really meant what I said about me and her, her and me doing homework. She starts asking if I've done the math homework, which I haven't, of course. But that doesn't stop Desta. She pulls out the homework anyhow and asks me 10,000 questions about the math problems. They are easy as pie, and I tell her so. Before I know it, I'm doing the work for her. If the homework's so easy, why didn't you do it last night? She wants to know. Don't go there, I say. I worked on them problems for 3 hours straight, Desta says, stuffing chips in her mouth. After that, I finally gave up and started watching TV. Desta's homework paper starts to spot from her greasy fingers. 20 minutes later, we head for the door. Char's still sitting at the front of the cafeteria. Boys are crowded around so that all you can see is them purple shoes of hers and that tight black designer skirt. When she stands up to leave, one boy puts his arm around her waist and whispers something in her ear. She laughs, but you can tell she's faking it. She puts on her sunglasses and walks toward the door with them boys following her like she's a movie star. Before she leaves, she looks over my way and pulls her sunglasses down past her nose so that they're leaning on her top lip. She stares me down, then whispers something to one of the twins and keeps on stepping. Ignore her, Desta says. The next thing I know, Ray's is coming my way. Char wants to know if you've done her math. I reach into my book bag and pull out some papers. Char and them are in a different math class than me. It's a class for kids who don't have a clue what's going on. I hand the homework to Ray's. I didn't have time to do the social studies, I say, lying through my teeth. The social studies paper is still in my bag. It's the first time I don't give Char what she's asked for. Did you do mine and my sister? Ray's wants to know. I hand the other math papers to her. As we leave the lunchroom, Desta says, I shouldn't do nothing for them. Yeah, right, I say. Chapter 12. The next day, I'm waiting in the bathroom. Seems like forever. No Char. She's punishing me for getting out of place yesterday, I guess. When Char says come, you come. When she says do this for me, you do it, or else bad stuff happens. I didn't give Char the social studies homework yesterday, so no clothes for me today. Now I got to go to class in Mama's things or wear the clothes Char gave me yesterday. I got them here in my backpack. They're folded small as a bag of bread. They're wrinkled worse than Caleb's grandmother's face, though. I don't have much choice, so I keep on my own clothes. I stretch my arms toward the mirror. Not bad. Sleeves is even. Buttons sewed on straight. The seam down the shirt sleeve is crooked is all. Could be worse. I'm thinking maybe I'll skip class. Miss Saunders gave me this here book the other day. Life of a Slave Girl, it's called. She said maybe it would help me with my writing. I've already read it twice. I stayed up all night reading it 2 days ago. I read it with a flashlight under the covers so Mama wouldn't holler. That book made me cry. It made me think about Akilma and what was waiting for her once the boat docked. While I'm still deciding if I'm going to skip class, I tell myself that I'm only going to read Life of a Slave Girl for 5 minutes. The next thing I know, the late bell is ringing. I'm shoving the book in my book bag and running down the hall. Walk, Miss Madison, a teacher says, and pick up that paper you just dropped. Good thing nobody sees what's on my paper. It's another one of them Akilma letters. Dear Diary, when you are hungry, really hungry, even mush crawling with maggots tastes good. So I can't help licking my lips when that girl put the last fingerful of my food in her mouth. A thief, that one is. Yesterday I grabbed her hands and tried to take back what was mine. It fell to the floor and somebody else scooped it up. She's a lion who cares for no one but herself. Akilma. I'm almost to Miss Saunders' room when John McIntyre starts up with me again. New clothes, huh? He says, trying to be smart. I stopped walking and turned to him and asked real smart like, "Why you always picking on me?" I ain't sure what's come over me. I guess thinking about Akilma makes me wonder why people treat others like they're nothing. "Chill, Malika," John says, strutting down the hall alongside me. He gets quiet, and I hear his big sneakers squeaking every time they hit the floor. Then then I say something that surprises us both. "Why me?" He knows what I'm asking. He keeps on stepping. "Why do you hate me?" I said, looking right at John. "You bugging." His cheek twitches. "You bugging, girl," he says. I look at him like he's crazy. John's been hating me all my life, it seems. Now he's standing there denying it. "I don't think nothing about you," he says, jerking up his pants. "Seems like nobody in the halls but me and John. Only that there's plenty of kids around pushing and shoving one another out of the way. The teachers are trying their best to move us kids along, but it ain't working so good." "That song you sing about me ain't right, John," I says. "It just ain't right." "So what? You ain't all that, you know." "All what?" I want to ask. But John don't give me a chance. He says I got what I deserved on the bus that day. He says since the first time he met me, I acted like I was better than him. I'm looking at John like I ain't never seen him before. Better than him? When did I do that? He says something stupid crazy. Says it was back in second grade when I moved to the Heights. I walked into class that first day with my new pink polka dotted dress on and black patent leather shoes. The teacher told me to sit in the desk next to his. I said I didn't want to. I wanted to sit in the one up front next to Caleb. "That half-white punk," John says, knowing full well Caleb ain't mixed. Now my mouth's hanging open. "I didn't even know Caleb back then," I said. "I wanted to sit up front because I couldn't see the board," I explained. Looking at John, I tell him, "You hated me all these years for something I didn't even do." "No matter," he says. You given me plenty of reasons not to like you since then. Thinking you super smart, acting like you too good for me." I tell John how things really is. I'm failing all my classes. Char's on my case all the time. I gotta borrow clothes to look like somebody. "Good," John says. "You always thought you was better than me. Now look at you. You just as bad off as the rest of us. Worse, maybe. Caleb don't want no part of you now, I bet." Now John's bobbing his head up and down, laughing like this whole thing is funny. John looks at me like I'm dirt or something. I swallow hard. I think about what Daddy once said about not seeing yourself with other people's eyes. I keep on stepping. When I open the door to Miss Saunders' room, John's right behind me. For once, Miss Saunders not getting on my case about being late. Then it hits me. John McIntyre is jealous of me. But why? I sit there for about 5 minutes trying to figure this thing out with John before I notice Miss Saunders ain't here. It's seeing Worm with his narrow butt parked on Daphne's desk that makes me know something's not right. When I look up front, nobody's there but 2 kids drawing on the board. I guess Miss Saunders is sick. "All right, a substitute," I say. "No work today." Before I can even smile good about it, Miss Saunders comes flying into the room. "Sorry I'm late," she says, all out of breath. "I'm sorry you're here," I whisper. Chapter 13. Why do teachers tell you stuff you don't want to hear? Like how wonderful their children are, or how big their house is, or what a quiet, pretty neighborhood they live in. It's Miss Saunders' turn, I guess. She comes in telling us she's late because her toilet ran over and she had to clean her white carpets before they got stained. Like we really care. She presses her hands against the gray pinstripe pantsuit and then pulls the jacket sleeves down. No gold bracelet today, just a watch on one arm and a thin gold necklace around her neck. Miss Saunders is a motion machine this morning. She sets down a briefcase, throws her black bag into the closet up front, slaps her hands together like giant paddles and tells everyone to get quiet. Then she fans herself with her hand. My landlord had to come over. She's opening and closing drawers looking for who knows what. I'm never late. You guys know that. Now she's fingering the chalk, pacing the room. There's sweat on her face. She leans herself against the desk and rubs her chin like she's trying to find lost words. Well, let's get started, she says, not even seeing what we all see up there on the blackboard. Who can tell me what Shakespeare meant when she begins, finally getting a good look at our faces. Everybody is quiet. Who read the 30 pages I assigned last night? Miss Saunders asked. Most of the hands go up, including mine, even though I didn't read none of it. Then let's get to work, she says, heading for the blackboard. When Miss Saunders sees what somebody's drawn, she stops in her tracks like she's been hit in the stomach. There's a woman's face up there on the blackboard. The left side is smooth and pretty. The right side is cracked and drooping like melting wax. It's done in pink, brown, and blue. It's a mess, that's all I can say. The teacher with two faces. Wiggly words spell it out on the blue chalk. Miss Saunders' big hands erase the board with 4 quick swipes like a windshield wiper on full speed. Who can sum up yesterday's reading for me? John McIntyre? She says his name real weird, like maybe she ain't just asking him about schoolwork, but accusing him of drawing the picture. We all stare at John. I know he didn't draw the picture. He came into class after me. Miss Saunders carries on with her lesson. Tell me about today's reading assignment. What would you do if you were Romeo and you loved a girl you couldn't have? Dump her, John says, staring right at me. Why sweat it? There's plenty of girls out there. Everybody laughs. John, you would not, Carrie Miller says. If you ever got a girl to like you, and we all know that ain't never gonna happen, you'd sell your skin to keep her. Miss Saunders slaps her hands together to get off the chalk and asks Carrie to hold her thought. Next thing you know, Miss Saunders is sitting on the corner of Carrie's desk, crossing her legs. Let John tell his story his way. But John, remember, this is the love of your life. Her folks are trying to keep you apart because you're not good enough, so they say. Nobody wants to talk about this stuff, I say, half under my breath. Miss Saunders starts walking the classroom aisles. What do you want to talk about? She asks. Why Malika's so black, John says. Miss Saunders' eyes shoot his way. Her smile is gone, and her arms are folded tight. Sorry, John says, shrugging and folding his arms too. Out of my room, John, Miss Saunders points to the door. But nothing, she says. Man, I'm thinking, why can't she just let it go? Forget about it. Don't she see dragging it out only makes it worse? Next thing I know, John's faking an apology to me, mumbling that he's sorry. Okay, everybody, let's get this thing back on track, Miss Saunders says. Romeo and Juliet, give me your thoughts. She says, unbuttoning her suit jacket. Romeo and Juliet didn't play by the rules. People had expectations for them. Wanted them to act and be a certain way, but they refused. Yeah, and they died anyhow. Worm shouts from the back. So what's your point? You tell me. Anybody here believe strongly enough to die for something or someone? My homies, Eric yells. I'd give up blood for one of my boys. My mama, shouts Desda. Nobody, says Jeremy. Ain't no dying for nobody but me. It's cold but true. Don't love nobody as much as my own fine black self, he says, kissing his arm from shoulder to fingertip. Now everybody's cracking up, including Miss Saunders. Yeah, Jeremy loves himself, so Jeremy, Raina says. Jeremy starts rubbing his cheeks. You gotta love yourself, baby. If you don't, who will? Romeo loved Juliet. My father loves my mother. People love other people, Desda says. But when they gone, who's gonna love you? When Romeo died, Juliet killed her stupid self. She loved him more than she loved than her own self. Now, did I make sense? Jeremy says. Miss Saunders is on the other side of the room now. She's standing right next to Jeremy. You're saying we shouldn't love people so much? No, I'm saying if you love yourself more than you love me, you will take good care of you. And you won't try to do me in because it's just going to cause problems for you. People who love who they are ain't gonna make unnecessary trouble for themselves. Get it? Go ahead, Mr. Philosopher. Preach, John says, slapping him 5. Can we get back to Romeo and Juliet, I said, just to shut him up. But John interrupts again. You probably didn't even read the book. Why are you always on Malika's case, John? Jeremy asks. Shut up, John says. Make me, Jeremy says, getting out of his seat. I'm smiling big time. John is getting a taste of his own. I like it. The period is almost over and you two ding-dongs are wasting time, Worm says. Everybody looks at Worm like he's crazy. Since when did he care about stuff like Romeo and Juliet? Be quiet and let somebody else talk, Carrie says. I wish somebody would kill themselves over me, Justice says. I'll kill myself if I had to kiss those crusty lips, John butts in. I mean, ain't that the most romantic thing in the world? Somebody who can't live without you? Tezda goes on, ignoring John. No, I say before I think about it, it ain't. I start chewing on my lip, trying to figure out my way out of this. But everybody's looking. I keep talking. When my daddy died 3 years ago, Mama fell apart. She couldn't eat. She couldn't sleep. She stayed up all night long, washing and scrubbing till her hands was raw. I say, chewing on my finger. The class gets so quiet, it's scary. I was 10 years old and brushing my teeth. I was 10 years old and brushing her teeth, feeding her oatmeal like a baby. She cried all the time. Last year, she finally came to. Got up one day and went and brought a sewing machine and started making clothes. Ain't never sewed nothing before. Just started that day sewing day and night. Sewing. Some kids at the back of the room start to snicker and make smart remarks. Shut up, I'm thinking. Just shut up. The more she sewed them clothes, the better she got. She started picking up after herself. Got a job and all. No, ain't nothing good come from loving somebody so much you can't live without him, I say. No good at all. Marla asked me why nobody in our family came to help me and Mama out when my daddy died. I said, we don't have no relatives, but that ain't the truth. Mama got a sister in New York. Daddy had brothers all over the place, but they weren't close. And getting in touch with them would have meant taking me away or putting Mama in some institution someplace. I wasn't having that, so we lived off Daddy's Social Security and savings. The classroom gets quiet again. When the bell rings, busting up the silence is like fists through glass. Chapter 14. A few days later, I'm hanging out with Shar and the twins. Shar told me I better show up if I know what's good for me. She says she don't like how I'm acting lately, forgetting to do her homework, giving her too much lip. She's right. I'm pushing my luck with her, but maybe I can learn to hang with Shar and get along with her too. Fighting her ain't no use. Look at where he got me the last time, in the lunchroom. I'm tired of working in the school office. It's been a few weeks now, and I'm still bored stiff. I want to have some fun. So after fifth period, instead of going to the office to work, I head to the lockers with Shar, Raina, and Ray's. And who do we run into but Miss Saunders, who's on hall duty? The first thing Miss Saunders does is ask me how work is coming in the office. Then she says, I guess you're headed there now. You are working there today, right? Shar stays cool for once, and she and the twins start walking ahead of Miss Saunders and me. I'm on my way, I said, turning back around and walking up the hall toward the office. I hear Miss Saunders tell Shar and the twins they better hurry up to class so they will have to get a late note to get in. Shar said something smart and keeps stepping. A moment later, I hear the school side exit door closing. Miss Saunders walks me to the office like I'm some baby. She's dressed to the nines like usual. She's got on gold hoop earrings with dolphins jumping through them, and she's making small talk, asking how I am, asking if I read her latest assignment. That designer suit you're wearing? That a designer suit you're wearing, I ask, knowing full well it is. Miss Saunders fingers the collar. I think so. You think so? Don't you know? Yes, it is, Malika, she says kind of smart. Real teachers can't afford designer suits, I say before I really think about what I'm saying. I wear suits for my job at the ad agency. Suits are kind of like a uniform, I guess. My mom wears a uniform to work. What you got on ain't no uniform. Miss Saunders nods. I think if I was wearing my own clothes, I would feel like 2 cents next to her. But I'm in Shar stuff, so I'm holding my own. What are you doing here, Miss Saunders? Emma Clinton, I mean, I ask. While we walk, Miss Saunders stops every once in a while and picks up a gum wrapper or a soda can tab. I want to teach, she says plain as day. Then how come you're not at that Catholic school 10 blocks from here? Or one of them private schools downtown? Miss Saunders doesn't say nothing. She's just walking slow like I got all day. I mean, teachers don't come here because they want to. They get dumped here because they goofed up someplace else, usually. Except Ty, maybe. But you know, she's weird. She wanted to come to McClinton, I tell her. When Miss Saunders gives me a trick question that I ain't expecting, why are you... Then Miss Saunders gives me a trick question that I ain't expecting. Why are you here? What? I fold my arm tight in front of me. Why are you here? She asks again. I checked your records. Last year you passed the test for Central Middle School across town. You checked my records? I check all my students' records. In business, you always learn about your clients, who they are, what makes them tick. It helps you do your job better. It's the same with teaching. Know your clients. It bothers me that Miss Saunders knows all my business. You know about us kids, but we don't know nothing about you, except where you came from before you got here, and that you like suits and jewelry, and that you was born with that face. Miss Saunders says there's nothing much to know about her. She's single. She doesn't have any kids. She was working 18 hours a day and traveling the country all the time. When she turned 40, she didn't want to do it anymore. 6 months later, she found out about the school board's plan for letting executives teach in the schools. You gave that up to come here? I said, reaching down and picking up a broken pen. The business world can be very competitive, Miss Saunders says. I was always trying to outthink, outperform, even outdress my competitors. It was wearing me down. Well, you're the best dressed one in this place, I say. Miss Saunders reaches for the top button on her suit. You think you're ever going back, Miss Saunders? Back to working in a big company, I ask. Miss Saunders shakes her head. No, I think teaching is it for me. You won't miss the money and stuff like that? She shakes her head a second time. We turn the corner and I go into the office. Miss Saunders walks in, throws trash in the garbage can by the door, and keeps on going. It's the first time me and her have been together without things falling apart. Chapter 15. Miss Saunders has really got all the other teachers stirred up, except for Ty. Most of them don't like her. They say Mr. Pajoli's sucking up to her so that maybe her company will donate lots of money to the school. Maybe even get us some computers and a new library. All of this makes the other teachers resent Miss Saunders even more. In the office, the teachers never say her name. They just say, she did this and she did that. I hate pushy people, Miss Benson, the English teacher is saying when she comes into the office with Mr. Pajoli. Every day she's coming to me with some new idea she came up with, questioning why things can't be done differently. Mr. Pajoli tries to quiet Miss Benson down, but she just gets louder and her face grows red. Raising her fingers to him, she says, You get her in line, Charles. She's disrupting everything. Everything. Mr. Pajoli's nodding, while his eyes go over the messages Miss Carroll hands him. That's the third parent calling to complain this week. Too much homework, too much reading, Miss Carroll says. A big smile comes over Miss Benson's face. Don't tell me. Let me guess who they're complaining about. Mr. Pajoli scratches his head. He lets out a deep breath and says he'll take care of things. Then the phone rings. Yes, he's here. Miss Carroll presses down the hold button and smiles. Someone else calling about your favorite person. Mr. Pajoli clicks his false teeth together. Send it back to my office, he tells Miss Carroll. Miss Benson touches up the edges of her lipstick with her finger and walks off humming. Miss Carroll tells me to get back to work and stop being so nosy. I go and staple papers together over in the corner. It's good to see teachers get in as much trouble as kids do sometimes. The office is a busy place. Folks come and go like this is a bus stop on the corner. As soon as I get a few papers stapled, here comes someone else wanting something. This time it's Desda. Hey, Malika, I need me a note to get into class. I've been to the dentist, she says, pulling out a balled up piece of paper with some writing on it. I look in Miss Carroll's direction. She's heading over to give Desda what she needs. While she's doing that, here comes Charlize. I don't see the twins nowhere. Charlize, shouldn't you be in class? Miss Carroll asks, still tending to Desda. In a minute, Char snaps, waving for me to come to the other end of the counter. Miss Carroll's voice is squeaky and high-pitched like a wheel that needs some oil. Charlize Jones, I don't know what you think you're doing here, but Malika's doing a job for the principal, and you, young lady, had better hightail it to class. Char just laughs at Miss Carroll. You act like Malika's working for the President of the United States. Man. Miss Carroll shoves the note over to Desda. All right now, get to class. Desda's looking at me like I did something wrong. Charlize takes out a stick of gum and pushes it in her mouth real slow. Miss Carroll looks like she's going to go off her. Then out comes Mr. Bajoli. Hello, Mr. P, Char says in a sweet baby voice. You think maybe one day I can work in here too? Maybe answer the phone or something? Char stands there in her skin-tight striped pantsuit with her fingers in her mouth like a 2-year-old. With her finger in her mouth like a 2-year-old. Mr. Bajoli knows Char ain't the least bit like that for real. Sure, Charlize. You may start working in the office as soon as you pay the fines for the 3 library books and 2 math books you lost last year. Char starts arguing with Mr. Bajoli about how she ain't never had those things and how everybody was out to get her. Anyhow, she says, I ain't no slave. If I work for somebody, there's got to be some dollars involved. Mr. Bajoli tells Char to move along to get to class. For what? She says, heading out. All these teachers is boring me to death. Mr. Bajoli asks her what class she has now. Math, with Ty, Char says. Nobody can be bored in her class unless they want to be, Mr. Bajoli says, walking out with her. Mr. Bajoli is right, too. Ty is funny. She meditates a lot, so during her class break, it ain't unusual to see her sitting on the desk with her legs folded and her arms crossed. She's different, but she can teach. I used to get all A's in Ty's class last year. Since I got this office gig, Ty has been bugging me about keeping up my average. She came right in here yesterday and asked me where my homework was. Mr. Bajoli was standing right at the desk, too. I lied and said it was in my locker. Ty asked Mr. Bajoli if it was okay for me to go and get it. Then I had to fess up and tell her I'd forgotten to do it. She asked Mr. Bajoli if it was okay for me to use my office time to do my math homework. He said yeah, but that I'd have to make it up. I'd have to make up the time later. Teachers don't do nothing but cause you grief. I swear, that's all they do.